everyone, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Taylor. I love teaching women how to use peptides, how to optimize their hormones, how to build muscle, lose fat all at the same time. So if you're new here, thank you for joining in. And if you are an OG, thank you so much for continuing to support and to watch my channel. So in today's video, I want to talk to you all about what peptides to stack with Retatrutide. I've gotten a ton of questions lately on what all can I put with Retatrutide, what all is going to also help me lose fat and also work well to help me maximize fat loss along with Retatrutide. So I'm going to share with you what I've done, what all I have stacked with Retatrutide to help me lose the most amount of fat as possible. So let's get into this video. So what exactly is Retatrutide? I've talked about Retatrutide a lot on my channel and I have another video on it and I go more in depth detail on what exactly is Retatrutide, but Retatrutide for the most part, we're going to make this short. It is a GLP-1, but what is so different about Retatrutide is that it is a triple agonist GLP-1. So it's going to hit your GLP-1, your GIP, and your glucagon receptor. And that right there, the glucagon receptor, is why Retatrutide is right now, in my opinion, the best GLP-1 peptide to be losing for fat loss. Because it's hitting that glucagon receptor, it is making it a powerhouse for fat loss. So this is not only just going to suppress your appetite, but this is also going to help with fat oxidation, which is going to improve also insulin sensitivity, which is going to help you with maximizing fat loss and maintaining and keeping it off. So it is by far one of the best, but I get asked, what can I pair with it? Tons of things. But my dosing Retatrutide is going to be the most important, is really understanding how to dose it correctly. And, when we first started using GLP-1s and testing them and everything, we were taking our GLP-1s, whether it's Retatrutide, semaglutide, Tirzepatide. Well, what we found out throughout researching it and throughout using it is that it is actually way more beneficial is if you would take that 1 week's dose and break it up into 3 smaller shots, essentially throughout the week, is what I have found. And that to me has been the biggest game changer. And this is where I call it microdosing, because you're taking smaller amounts and you're taking them more frequently. Why this is so much more beneficial than taking it once a week. So when you take your week's worth and you divide that over into 3 smaller shots, you're able to get a more even distribute of the GLP in your system. And then you're able to also have more benefits. You don't get hit with like the hard, strong, like, bam, your appetite suppression is here and you cannot eat anything and you cannot get all your healthy macros in for a good couple days. And then towards the end of the week, you start noticing that appetite coming back, that food noise coming back. Well, by dividing the dose up into a microdose effect where you divide it over into a 3-day period makes a huge difference with using this. The other thing that's also very beneficial is starting with very small dosing of Retatrutide. This has been a complete game changer. So when I start Retatrutide and I start running a cycle of my Retatrutide, I start with 0.5 milligrams per week. So I take 0.5 milligrams and I divide that into 3 shots throughout the week, and that's what I take. And then I will slowly up my dose about every 2 weeks if I need to, and I don't go any higher than 2.5 milligrams. You don't want to do it. If I'm going higher than that, it's just, you get a lot more sensitivity to the receptors. You really do, if you go slower and do slower dosage and gradually take your dose up, and then that way when it's time to end your cycle of coming off of it, because Typically with Retatrutide, I will run a cycle anywhere between 8 to 14 weeks. And I'm sorry, I know that's not on the screen here, but that's how long I run my cycles for. I have taken it up to 16 weeks. But so what I'll do is I'll start off with that the 0.5 milligrams. I will work my way up to 2.5 if I need to. So let's just say I'm running my cycle and, I'm coming down where it's about to be closer to my 14, 16 week marker where I'm going to start transitioning myself off of it. I'm then going to start reversing and work my way back down. That way, when I'm done by the end of my 14, 16 week cycle, I'm now back where I started at 0.5 milligrams. So hopefully that makes sense. So there's going to be several things that I'm going to talk about throughout this video on what we can pair with Retatrutide. But I want to first talk about two products that are absolutely amazing and make a huge game changer with GLP-1s. And these are in the peptide family, but these are actually capsules. So what's great about these two products is that you don't have to inject them. And that's always nice because if you're like me, you're taking a lot of peptides at once. I'm constantly having to put multiple needles in me, and sometimes you just get tired of it. So two products that I like to use along the side with Retatrutide, and these are products that I like to use especially in the beginning of using Retatrutide, because in the beginning, one of the side effects of starting with Retatrutide some people have is that they can feel an appetite increase with it. And I will have a whole nother separate video on that. I promise I will be making that soon. And I'll get into why that happens. But in the beginning, some people get appetite increase. And this actually has happened with me. I am now on week 3 of running my cycle of Retatrutide. I have not been on Retatrutide since September, October is when I finished up with it. And I'm now back on Retatrutide because I am starting my prep cycle of my leaning out phase. And what I have found being the most beneficial to pair with it, because I have noticed an appetite increase. I'm also in a calorie deficit because I'm coming off of a bulking phase of putting a lot more muscle mass on. And now I'm in the transition phase of leaning out and still putting muscle on at the same time. So for me, I noticed that like the appetite increase while taking this has gone back. I also know that I'm also in a calorie deficit right now, and I'm still training 5 days a week, resistance weightlifting training in the gym. So what I like to take along with Retatrutide is I really like to use Tesofensine. Now, Tesofensine is a nootropic, and it's in the nootropic family and is a capsule. Tesofensine is really going to help with improving cravings. So Tesofensine is really going to help with improving your mood, and it really helps with that food noise connection in the mind. And I've talked about this a little bit on the channel. Like I do have food noise a lot. I'm just someone that I'm a foodie. I constantly think about food. I have food noise. And for me, Tesofensine really does help cut out the food noise. But what's really great too is that it helps improve the mood. So like when you're in a calorie deficit, which if you're taking a GLP-1, you should be in a calorie deficit because your goal is to lose fat. You have got to cut calories out at somewhere in your macro system. But when that tends to happen, a lot of times like brain fog can happen. Tesofensine is really great for brain cognition because it's in the nootropic family. So that's also going to help. And it also helps with metabolism. So that's why I like Tesofensine. The other product that I cannot say enough good things about, and this is a product that I feel like it gets lost in the peptide world, and it is one of the greatest products that I have found in the last few years, and that is going to be Calocurb. And this product, it gets I feel like people either love it or they hate it or that it doesn't work. I get a lot of mixed feedback on this product. But the key is with Calocurb is that you have to keep taking more capsules if you are not getting appetite suppression with it. Calocurb is a natural appetite suppressant and it comes from a hop plant. And that's where it's extracted from the hop plant. And it is really great and it pairs really well with Retatrutide. And it is going to help so much with the food noise. And not only that, it also really helps with your GI system, helps keep you regular. So I love using Calocurb, especially along with my GLP-1s, especially if you're like me, you have the food noise, you got the food noise chatter going on. Calocurb will work. I use this a lot when I'm not on a GLP-1, but I also use it all the time along with my GLP-1s, especially with Retatrutide. So the dosing with Calocurb is so different with everybody. For me, I will take anywhere between 1 to 2 capsules, 30 minutes before meals, up to 3 times a day. Now that can vary. I will take up to 6 sometimes. If I need to go up on it, I will. So like with Calocurb, I like to take 2 in the morning. I'll see how I'm doing by the afternoon, especially if I'm fasting. Usually, in the afternoon, I'll probably have to take, 2 more, but I have taken up to 6 capsules and 6 was like, I probably could have taken 6 and done like a good 24-hour fast with it. I don't like to fast longer than 20 hours, but it definitely helps with the appetite suppression. So it is a great product to pair along with your Retatrutide. The other peptides that I like to take along with Retatrutide is going to be NAD plus and AOD 9604. These are 2 peptides that I do like to take. I will be honest, I didn't think I liked these peptides when I first tried them, but I will say I actually do like these peptides now, and I do like to particularly pair them with Retatrutide. I feel like I get the most maximized results when I pair them with Retatrutide. But NAD Plus is a great peptide for cellular and energy production, and it's going to help with repairing that. So that is going to be really important because when we're on a GLP-1, we're in usually typically a calorie deficit, but it's always really important to be resistance training when you're on Retatrutide. And that is going to make a difference because when you're exercising plus having a calorie deficit, this is going to help repair and give you more energy throughout your workout. Now, when I take NAD plus, I like to take about 100 milligrams, and I will take this in the morning 2 times a week, sub-Q. I always do all my peptides sub-Q. So that's how I like to use NAD plus. So if I'm taking Retatrutide and I'm kind of feeling sluggish with energy, this is going to be very helpful, especially if you're in a calorie deficit. Now, AOD, this is going to be a different peptide that this is actually targeting and designed to help break down fat cells. So this is a really great peptide to pair along with your GLP-1, such as Retatrutide. And this is going to help so much because it's just going to enhance what Retatrutide is designed to do with the appetite suppression. It's going to also help amplify and break down the cell fat, which is so beneficial. My dosing that I like to take is 300 micrograms 5 days a week in the morning subcutaneously. So typically I like to take this Monday through Friday, and then I typically take the weekends off when I do AOD. So the next peptide that we have in here is going to be MOTS-c. MOTS-c is one of my favorite peptides. It is, again, a peptide that's in the mitochondria functioning family. But the reason why I love MOTS-c so much and why I think it pairs so well with Retatrutide is that it is going to help with energy and cellular production and cellular circulation in the body, which if you are taking Retatrutide and you're also in a calorie deficit, you're working out, you're going to be more fatigued, and MOTS-c is going to help be able to boost the energy levels and to help enhance the fat burning mode. MOTS-c is really, really great. I know, I just love MOTS-c. It's just one of my favorites, because I really can feel a difference, in cellular circulation throughout my entire body. So I notice a huge difference, like in my cardio sessions when I have this peptide going, which if you're on a GLP-1, cardio is super important because that is going to be the key to help with fat loss. So you're going to be able to be stronger and have more energy to do your cardio. You're going to have more energy to go into the gym and, go stronger with your resistance training. So I get a lot of questions. I've gotten questions recently about this. I talked about MOTS-c, and I do two different dosing techniques with MOTS-c. So I will either take 2 milligrams every third day of MOTS-c for 2 weeks, and then I come off of it. Now, if I want to do a more microdosing effect, I will take actually 500 times a week, and I will stay on that for 8 weeks. So there's no right or wrong. And I know that there's, the peptide cheat sheet says one thing. My peptide cheat sheet says one thing. I think Hunter's peptide cheat sheet says a different thing. There's no right or wrong answer. It's all about what you want your dosing to be. What is your long-term goal with it? But I like to do both. I will run cycles of both of these different dosing techniques. So it just really depends on where I'm at. MOTS-c, I do talk about how MOTS-c is a great peptide to use when you're not on a GLP-1, such as Retatrutide. But it's also a great peptide to use along with Retatrutide. I think MOTS-c, is more beneficial because I know someone's going to ask me why MOTS-c and not SS31. Do you need to take SS31 and then MOTS-c? It doesn't matter, in my opinion. In the beginning stages of exercising and you are newer into fitness, into exercising, you will love MOTS-c along with your Retatrutide because it's going to help give you more energy for your exercises. That's why, like I also say, it is a great peptide to use when you're not on Retatrutide. But when you pair it with Retatrutide in the beginning, depending on how you respond to Retatrutide, you might feel fatigued. Like that is a side effect when you're on Retatrutide. Any GLP-1, Retatrutide has the least amount of side effects out of all the GLP-1s, in my opinion. But you might still feel a little fatigue when you first start Retatrutide. That's why MOTS-c, I think, is a great, powerful mitochondrial peptide to have in there while you were on Retatrutide, especially in the beginning. So I've done this, again, cycling systems with 2 different dosing techniques. And this might just be, you might just need to do MOTS-c for, the 2 milligrams for the first 2 weeks to get you through. And then you might notice that your side effects of fatigue will go down from the Retatrutide. Or you can dose it and do the full 8 weeks. It's completely up to you. I've done both, so there's no right or wrong answer, but I want to clarify that because I have been getting a lot of questions about that lately. So it's really your preference on what your overall goal is. If you're wanting it more for just like long-term mitochondria, like energy, do the 8 weeks. If you are wanting just like a short term, like you just need to get like your energy going, do the 2 milligrams for 2 weeks and see how you feel with that. Now, the next peptide we are going to talk about is Ipamorelin. Ipamorelin is up there with some of my top favorite peptides, and I love Ipamorelin so much, but it is so important if you are taking Retatrutide that you are taking some type of growth hormone releasing peptide with your Retatrutide. So the growth hormone releasing peptide is going to be so important when you are on Retatrutide because that is going to help preserve your muscle mass, which is super important and key. Like I see this so much with women that go on GLP-1s from their medical professionals and they lose so much weight and they're so excited, but now they're like, well, now I feel flabby because they've also lost a ton of muscle because majority of these women were not properly using the GLP-1s. They were not resistance training. They were not on a growth hormone releasing peptide to help preserve any of the lean muscle mass. I have seen this. I have seen this with family members of mine. Even though I teach this doesn't mean your families always listen. I see this with my family members. So it's so important that if you're on Retatrutide that you are taking a growth hormone releasing peptide. For me, Ipamorelin is my favorite growth hormone releasing peptide to use along the side with Retatrutide. Now there's nothing wrong with using Tesamorelin. I just personally, I retain more water when I'm on Tesamorelin. And if I'm in a calorie deficit and I'm trying to lean out, it's not going to make me feel as confident when I'm feeling bloated from Tesamorelin, but I still use it. But Ipamorelin is going to be my first pick for growth hormone releasing peptide. It is going to help with helping you with releasing more of your body's natural growth hormone production. So this is completely different from taking actual growth hormone. Now, I know someone's probably going to ask me, can you take growth hormone and Ipamorelin together? Yes, you can. I do it all the time. I love taking Ipamorelin in the evening because that is when our growth hormone production happens, is when we are asleep. So that is when you want to optimize taking your Ipamorelin in the evening before bed, and it also helps you sleep so much better. I like to take 300 micrograms 5 times a week, 2 days off at bedtime. This is like the last step to my bedtime routine. Ipamorelin is going to help preserve lean muscle mass. So when you're in your calorie deficit from Retatrutide, that is going to be basically your little bit of your safety cushion that's going to help you keep as much muscle mass on as possible while we're in a calorie deficit. Now, we know how great Retatrutide is by helping preserve your lean muscle mass. Ipamorelin is just going to help preserve it even more and help you even gain muscle while you're on Retatrutide. It's also going to enhance and help with improving your recovery from your workouts, which is going to allow for more consistent training, which is going to help with the fat loss phase that you're in. Now, we have Tesamorelin. Tesamorelin, again, is another great growth hormone releasing peptide, but Tesamorelin is going to be a little bit different, and where Ipamorelin really helps with preserving lean muscle mass, Tesamorelin is going to help with visceral fat, which is the fat that gets stored around our organs. So when I take Tesamorelin, I'm typically taking 1 milligram at night right before bed and taking that subcutaneously, and I do it. It's a very similar procedure as Ipamorelin, but this is going to be great if you are dealing with visceral fat. This is also going to help if you are dealing with more abdominal fat. Tesamorelin is great to pair with Retatrutide. Very similar to Ipamorelin. It's just Ipamorelin is going to help with lean muscle mass. Tesamorelin is still going to help with building muscle, but it's just going to target more in that visceral fat area, which tends to be in our abdomen. So the last peptide that we have in here is Tirzepatide. Yes, you can take Tirzepatide and Retatrutide together. I've done this several times and it is really great. This is a great duo and a great pair. So Tirzepatide is similar to Retatrutide, but it's only going to be hitting your GLP-1 and your GIP, whereas in Retatrutide is hitting your both, but your glucagon receptor. Now, why would we want to pair these together? Well, this is a great duo if you are really struggling with a lot of food noise and you really need a stronger appetite suppression. In the beginning, pairing Tirzepatide with Retatrutide is going to be a really good mix. And how I have done this is that I will basically dose my Retatrutide and my Tirzepatide at the same dosing amount, because to me, Tirzepatide has a stronger appetite suppression, which is really beneficial depending on what your goals are. Retatrutide has great appetite suppression as well too, but the alternative here is that Retatrutide is going to help you preserve muscle mass and actually help you put muscle mass on. Whereas in Tirzepatide doesn't do that. It's really going to help cancel out and help with the appetite suppression. So by pairing these together, they're a really great duo because they complement each other so well. So when I typically take it, I don't take these in a full cycling system together. Typically what I will do is I will take Tirzepatide and Retatrutide together for the first like 2 to 3 weeks to help get me through like any of the appetite suppression that I'm having because of being in a calorie deficit. When I add that Tirzepatide in, it really helps cancel out and really cuts that appetite suppression down. And then I will come off of it and I will just continue my, the rest of my weeks with just Retatrutide. I don't stay on it, both of them throughout the entire time period. I don't do that, just in the beginning, first few weeks to help get the appetite suppression going for me has been really key when I'm in a calorie deficit. So you can take these GLP-1s together, which is really great. All right, so there you guys have it. Those are all the different peptides that I like to pair with Retatrutide. Again, there's no right or wrong here. If you like this video, please don't forget to like the video and comment. Let me know if you've tried any of these peptides together, if you liked any of these. And also, if you are interested and you want to submit a video request, if you click on the description below this video, there is a new link there where you can now submit a question or a topic that you want a video on rather than put it in the comments, because I don't always see the comments and there's a certain topic that you want to ask and you want questions on, you can do that. That way it's private. No one else sees it other than me. I will be more than happy to do that. So start submitting some questions on what kind of videos you guys want to see. Can be anything. I've gotten some requests lately for vlogs. I don't know how I feel about that. You guys might be a little bored with it, but submit any questions, any topics that you guys want answers or help with videos. So please go and do that. If you want the Women's Peptide Cheat Sheet, in the description below, there's a link in there where you can sign up. You get the Peptide Cheat Sheet. I get questions all the time. I didn't get the Peptide Cheat Sheet. Check your spam box. You will get a separate message with the Peptide Cheat Sheet. At the very bottom of that message, there's an attachment. That is where you can find the Peptide Cheat Sheet. If you cannot get it to work, I don't know why it's not working. Email me. Do not message. Don't comment on here because I probably won't see it for a while. So email me directly through my website if you are having issues downloading that. And if you're interested in working with me more, go join the Feminine Flow Collective, my private women's group where we talk all things about peptides, hormones. We go live every Thursday night. You have full access to privately message me on there. And it's even better because there's a great group of women in there that love helping and learning from one another. And it's just nice to just have another, to just have your own support of women that are in the same like mindset things of learning about peptides and hormones. So go check out the Feminine Flow Collective if you want to work with me more. On my website, I do have peptide plans that you can also book with me and consultation calls. So go check out those. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to chat with you again soon.